Oh, wait, I probably do. You have an extra one? Got those for my notes. Mhm. What's the card? It's
That's all right. That's why we're hoping, somebody can get some more.
Oh, got you, okay.
We just put that there.
Yeah, I'm down in Chula Vista.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And my son is about to be working at the Amazon. My son is about to be working
Which location?
at the Amazon.
In LA?
No, by this place in Marco City, their area. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, right, take 2 classes a month? One a month, but this month we're having 2.
Oh, okay.
All right. How's everyone today? All right, so, okay, tell me when you want to roll.
We're ready. We're rolling.
All right, so what I thought we would do today is, well, our temple tries to give, what we do give, try to do it. We have 1 class a month, like a sit-down type class, information. It's a way to, basically what I use it as is a way to extend the teachings that Chief Popola has given to me to you guys.
Sure.
And because the normal sermon, we do it that way too. In fact, everything that we talk about is what Popola has taught us over the years. And so now it's a chance to give you guys information too, so you can enrich your practice. So that's the idea. You're certainly free to ask questions, just raise your hand. We'd like to go for about 1 hour, so if I could just, if I only, you could kind of keep me on like a 10-minute warning type thing we're about, so, because there's a lot of information. Today's topic deals, I just titled it Our Very World, okay? There's many types of deities, many types of spirits, many types of, many things. And what I want to do is go through some of them, and that means touching on the cosmology. Now, what does cosmology mean? Cosmology refers to the structure of the universe, which is like a huge topic. We're not going to cover the whole structure of the whole universe in 1 hour. I'm going to give you an overview of some of the different categories of beings. The angle I want to look at it today is, what is an Orisha? What is an Iromale? What is an Egungun? What is an Ebora? What is an Oroinwingi? We're going to cover some of these things so we can begin to see the different types of beings that are around us. It ain't just people, animals, and plants, you guys, and God in the sky. It's a little more than that. Ultimately, everything goes back to Olodumare. Everything does, but it behooves us, it benefits us as Ifa followers to know these different spiritual and physical entities out there. Because if we know them, we know how to feed them, we might know what they are. In today's topic, we'll be covering ghosts, right? Because Ifa does not talk about ghosts. It has some other names like, oh my God, oh yeah, that's what that is. That's how we feed that. Because how the heck do you take care of a ghost? Just run, right? We will be talking about different types of orishas and things like that. So I've got so much I want to, so I'll just, please keep me up because we want to go for 1 hour, maybe 1 hour, 10 minutes, and then we have to, because we're going to be doing Itagugun today. We've got a lot to do. All right. So I took notes, just wrote it down so I can stay on, because you know me. Yeah, which is funny because in high school teaching, which I used to do, they taught us never speak more than 10 minutes. And then give it back to the, you gotta have an interaction, just lecturing, and put people to sleep. So I'll need you guys to throw some questions and jazz it up a little bit. So, the world we live in is varied, y'all. Now, the cosmology, this is an important word that we should all know and use. It just refers to the structure of the universe. Now, universe. Cosmology can refer to universe. It can refer to the physical structure. You've got the planets, you've got the stars, the galaxies, all that, and then everything down to Earth. Or it can talk about other things in the universe. So today I'm going to talk about the different beings. I'm going to focus on the different types of beings. And the beings I'm going to talk about today are both physical and non-physical, as in spiritual. So I also hope this serves as a nice kind of structure, top down. It doesn't mean like, as I'm going through these deities, like this one's on top, it's the best, it's stronger than the others. It's not like superheroes, okay, where some are stronger than others. But in terms of the Ifa, homage and reverence, and those things, there are certain ways we lay out the deities we talk about. So, that said, and I'll write and then I'll move because I'm blocking some people now. I think it's best to start at the very, very beginning. Ifa described, and I'll be giving some stanzas too, so we can kind of, know where these come from. I won't be quoting long, just so we can get through our class, but I'll at least give you a snippet of it so you know. Now, Ifa discussed the primordial being. We call it Akamara. Akamara. Okay? And that's it's not even a being, it's the primordial essence. It's the primordial breath. Akamara is like the Big Bang, but pre-Big Bang. It's like the breath of life, but it's even the thing that existed before. And so the problem with Akamara is there's not much we can say about it. Because it is everything, and it's everything that existed before there was anything. And normally we use that as, we say that's what God is. Ifa says that's what Akamara is. Akamara has no pot. Akamara has no icon, no taboos, no colors, no beads, no numbers. Akamara is the stuff that, it's the stuff of existence. Everything that ever was and will be is Akamara. Okay? And this is discussed. So I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's very much of concern to us. But we don't reach Akamara so directly. We don't, I'm going to go home and feed Akamara right now. I'm going to be initiated into Akamara. Okay? It's discussed largely in Osa Muneja. That's the Odu, which is Osa Ogunda. Sometime we'll talk more about Akamara. Just suffice it to say that if you want to think of Ifa's version of the Big Bang, that's it. But Akamara was the thing that existed the second before there was even a Big Bang. It's very, very important. In terms of our hierarchy, okay? In terms of our hierarchy, because I'm trying to give you, the cosmology, that's the structure. Like, I'm going to next talk about Olodumare. Olodumare is the closest thing that people in Ifa would refer to as God, quote unquote God. Some people don't like to call Olodumare God, and they have a real problem with it. I don't know why, because when I look at everything that God is discussed as across the world, I find the same descriptions of Olodumare in Ifa. So I personally don't have trouble with it. But what I do know is that some of the baggage of discussing God, such as a man with a white beard, who's very strong and stern or very loving, Olodumare Ifa does not speak of God that way. In fact, we can't even call Olodumare male or female because it's not a person. Okay? Nevertheless, it created so many things. Okay? And this is described largely in Idi Isun. Okay? Please repeat after me. Idi Isun.
Idi Isun.
Irosum-D is for the child Awo.
Irosum-D is for the child Awo.
A child Awo
A child Awo
cannot work with Idi Isun.
cannot work with Idi Isun.
Idi Isun is a delicate Odu.
Idi Isun is a delicate Odu.
This was cast Ifa
This was cast
for
Ifa
Olodumare Agotun.
for Olodumare Agotun.
It that extends its mat of honor.
It that extends its mat of honor.
It was crying because of lack of children.
It was crying because of lack of children.
Okay. So this just speaks of a time when Olodumare, and we've cited this in sermons so many times, Olodumare looked down on the earth. We'll get to all this. I kind of have to jump ahead just a little bit. It looked down on the earth and saw nothing was inhabited on the earth and began to cry for how lonely and isolated this rock was and how much potential it could have. And Ifa described those tears as the rainfall that later gave birth to so many things. We know that our biological system is carbon-based and water-based. Wherever you have carbon and water, you're going to find life. And that's Ifa's way of talking. That's why they're looking for water and carbon on any other planet. If you find those two, you could find life. And that same water, Ifa described it as Olodumare's tears. And that's what later allowed life to come up. So Olodumare, it would be considered like our God. Okay. Any questions along? Just pop your hand up. Yes, yeah.
So isn't this Olodumare's personal Odu?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. Olodumare became initiated into Ifa. Did Olodumare wear white clothes and sleep at Baba's house for 7 days and 3 days and all that, and then shave the head? No, not that way. But Olodumare was initiated to Ifa, and when Olodumare became initiated, this is the Odu that came out. Yes, yes, yeah.
Would you say Olodumare is also when people say the creator? Or
Yes, because Olodumare created many, many things, although we can see this slight difference of Akamara. Akamara truly was the spark of existence, but so many things that came into the existence came into with Olodumare. And as we go through, when I start talking about Obatala, he's also a creator.
Right.
He created so many things. Oshun created many, this same essence, this same Ashe got passed down. That's why I'm starting from the very top. That same essence. Again, we can spend an hour on talking about the original basket of sand. That's how Bob phrased it, that Akamara used to create the universe. But I kind of want to, I've got so much that I want to give you an overview. Okay, so, but yes, these are very helpful understandings of the creator.
Can you break down the name?
Yeah, Olodumare. It's owner. Oh, okay, in Yoruba, Od means owner. Odu. That, Odu is the container or pot. Yeah, Mare, everlasting. So it's a continual, everlasting calabash, container. So it's just telling you right there that out of this, imagine a giant clay pot and stuff just keeps flowing out. Olodumare is the owner of it. Yeah. Some other names for Olodumare. You might say it's Eledumare. Eledumare, that's another way. Right, you might see, it has so many names. Oba, Alani. It has so many other descriptors. And that's what I found interesting, because these other descriptors remind me of other religions. For example, I was sharing this with our class yesterday I was in. Do you know in Islam they call God benevolent, Allah is called benevolent, merciful? In Yoruba we call it Oba Alanu. Anu means compassion. You see, everywhere you look in the world, they all start to sound the same. And that's because I believe we are just speaking of one God, one creator. But the beauty of Ifa says, yes, but even before there was God, there was something else. Doesn't mean we're privileged or better, it just means we have a little more insight. Some people say, well, Baba, I want to go straight to Akamara from now on. Why? Stay with your Oshun, stay with your Egbe, because those will all lead you back. They're all going the same place. So some people might feel, I'm even hearing directly from Olodumare itself, and Akamara, and something beyond that. What's beyond Akamara? All right. Now, I'm going through any questions so far on our hierarchy here. Can I erase this?
Should I take a picture?
Please. Yes, sir.
Baba, does Olorum fit in between there somewhere?
It's not different.
not
Oloru, it's just another name.
Gotcha.
There's no difference of the word Olorum. Oloru is just another. Again, that Ol means owner.
Owner of heaven.
owner of heaven, owner's heaven, Olorum. For example, in Yoruba, Al means owner, Anu means compassion, the king and owner of compassion.
Where's
Yes.
Ellen? Is it just another song?
Eledumare, it's another way to
Or
say
just
it.
different song?
So, Baba, just real quick, so Ela was before a camera? Or was a camera, and then Ela is like, I heard like Ela is like a space,
Yes, but something had to create space,
right?
so,
So a camera,
yeah.
okay.
A karma is the primordial essential essence. So we call it the primordial essence because to call it the original being, it's before there were beings.
Right.
So I'm going to erase this a little bit and then keep going. I wish I can do all this justice. I know I'm going through, I have so many things I want to share with you guys, so I'm just trying to get through it enough so we can, you know. And then, as we have more questions, we can then perhaps explore some other part of it. Okay, so next I want to go to, I want to go to someone I think you all know very well in our kind of our cosmological hierarchy here. What do you guys think I'm about to go to next?
Eshu.
Ori.
Ori.
You take your flowers on May 15th.
Mother.
Mother.
Yami.
Mothers, yes. Can you believe after all that, boom, next one's mom. Mom right away. Because after, okay, let's talk, I'm gonna make it smaller now. So we talked about a camera. We talked about Olodumare. Can you believe that Ifa next goes to mother?
Yes.
Before it gets all,
She said yes.
because she's your personal God. She's your personal Olodumare. Everybody has a mother, right? So we're gonna, and then after that is Baba. So in this cosmological structure, you can put your mom right up there. In fact, mom's slightly more important than father is. Because she actually, they both contributed, but she actually carried you. They say that one's mother is one's own personal Orisha.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, of course, one's mother. So when somebody calls you mother at temple or wherever, that's a big deal, yes.
Because when you are in trouble, that's what you call on.
That's
Even
what
though
you
you
call
call on your dad, but you call on your mother.
That's right.
And you pray
Yeah,
to your mother and she will support you and protect you.
That's right. And if she's dead, call on her spirit, but call on mom. Right? Some people don't even know your mom. It's okay, you still call on her. And then Baba, of course, means father. So that's why you say one's mother, one's father is one's isheshe. It's one's foundation, one's tradition, it's one's personal risha. Okay, so in our hierarchy, that's how it goes. Now after this, we're going to go to a read. Okay, we talked about this yesterday, so I'm gonna go to Baba Fawe Limo. What is Ori? We talked about this in class yesterday. And yeah,
What's
but
our head, or willingness?
okay. Yeah, want to add to that? You were in the class yesterday.
Oh, okay. Our head is basically our, I said yesterday that it's our, the piece of Olodumare that dwells within us, but it's also, you said it encapsulates our character, our destiny. So that's what it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so good. So Baba said it was the physical head, right? I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh yeah, you were there
The
too.
Ayamo, it encompasses like our past lives
Our consciousness?
Very good. Our consciousness, yes. So Ori is, of course, your physical head. So in our hierarchy, Ori comes quickly because once your mother and your father have procreated, they've conceived and procreated in birth, there's this Ori, right? Which now has a chance to go to Orun, to the sky world, and pick a destiny. So we talk about Ori as, feed your head. You gotta feed your head, that's your physical head. But as you said, it's the piece of Olodumare inside, it's the software. Okay, and it's software and the hardware actually. And what does it contain? It includes Iwa. Iwa is our character. Okay? If anybody can't see, tell me, I'll write it bigger or I'll spell it. See, it's just hard to see. So Iwa. Ipin is our destiny. And even those have smaller parts as a Kunlin Ba, but I want to just keep it simple right now. And then Ayamu. Ayamu is your past karma. Your head, your Ori, everyone, has everything that you've done now, plus the stuff you did in your past lives. It's still all up there. Some people are skating on good luck in this life from past lives.
Is that Aya?
Ayan,
N.
ayanmo, ayanmo. Some people are riding on good luck now, like, how can that person, they do all that bad and that their life is so good? It's because they're using up good luck from the last life. It will run out eventually. Some other people, they are so sweet and pleasant and helpful, and their life is rough. They're also paying off the debt from the last life. You see? So there's this issue of ayanmo, you can never forget. So ayanmo can be called like your karma from past lives, your baggage. Ayanmo also includes things you cannot change about yourself, such as your ayanmo would include unchangeable facts such as who your mother, can you ever change who your mother and father is?
No.
It's hard. You can't do it. Try it. You cannot change the sex you were born as.
That's what I was gonna say, you can't.
You cannot. No, from a father's standpoint, you
Yeah.
can't. Yeah. So changing it on a piece of paper is okay. You can do that, but it doesn't change what you were born as.
But even if
The
you do
essence.
surgically,
Even if you do surgery, it's still, you're still who you are. It's a yanmo. That's what you were born as. Now, what you want to do with it is up to you in this life. But these ayano relates to unchangeable. You also cannot change past events from your past life. They've already been done. Okay, so if I recognize that, we call that whole category ayano. So it groups things together. Yes.
sorry, I have a lot of questions.
Alright.
Okay, so then you said for those that are like Sweden and all that that's doing good now, you're saying because they may have done things in the past, so they have to like make up for it?
Yes.
With this current Odu for this year, where it says you're removing the thing that's preventing you from achieving your destiny, wouldn't that be something that they would need?
It'll move in that direction.
Okay.
But if let's say your karmic load, your ayanmo, you're carrying like 100 pounds of baggage from your last lifestyle. 6 colons will not erase 100 pounds of baggage.
Anyway, whatever.
It will make a dent.
Okay.
Yeah, and it might not even be that the whole life will erase it.
Okay.
It's a process, because Ifa believes in reincarnation. Okay, so Oludamare is looking not only at this life, but future lives. Yes, yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm feeling the air.
Yeah, Oludamare, yeah, you can turn it down if you want to adjust if it's too hot or too cold. You can.
Yeah.
Well, it feels good.
Okay, now, so this ayamo, this load you have can be very, very heavy. And we want to make sure that we do the proper character to make sure that we make it as light as possible, as light as a feather. We want our baggage to get lighter. You ever been in the airport and you're like, I'm way over, I gotta carry these things, I know I'm gonna have to pay, there's over 52 pounds or whatever, I know I'm gonna get charged, and you're just dragging it. Well, that's how Ifa describes past karma. So we want to lighten that luggage up, and that's through good character, ebo, and patience. But some things will take another whole life.
Or lives.
Is that like I'm dead, spiritual dead almost?
Spiritual debt, spiritual debt, yeah, spiritual account, think of it that way. Okay, so that's how it goes. So after we go through all these, so this is this hierarchy. So if we're praying, we say, Iba Ludamare, Iba Kamra, Iba Ludamare, Iba, Iya, Iba Ba, Iba Ri. We're paying homage in that order. One thing is that there's a slight disagreement within the Ifa community. If this is up here, like these can switch. Some people say your mother and your father are more important than Ori. Others say, no, Ori is more important than mother and father. It's a debate. There's stanzas for each, so you know what? It's not really important. If you want to pay homage to the Ori and then mother and father, it's okay. If you want to pay homage to mother, father, Ori, it's okay. It's really nothing to go to war over. So I think I need a little more space. I'm going to erase this. Yeah, try to write fast, you all, so I can erase. I'll try to write bigger too, so we can see easier. Okay, so next I want to go to the Irunmole. Yes. Anybody heard of the Irunmole?
Yes.
Yeah, this is like a foundational class. I just want to make sure we all know what Irunmole are. What is Irunmole? What are they? What is it?
Heavenly beings with knowledge of earth.
Okay, Baba said heavenly beings with knowledge of earth. Irun, the rune, that's the Orun part. Ma means to know, like to know something. And Le refers to Ile. They're heavenly beings with knowledge of earth. Okay. Okay, that's very interesting, because what that tells us is that Irumale are related to both heaven and earth. You know, at the beginning of the beginning times, the start, I don't know what you want to call it.
The Big Bang?
Even, yeah,
Big Bang
go
Theory?
way, let's go way back. Way back when. In the old days, okay, Akamara created millions of Irumale. That's how Ifa described it. The Irumale we know about are for our solar system. So there's other Irumales in other places. We only know about ours, and we talked about this yesterday. How many Irumale are there?
800. We said millions.
Millions total, but in our solar system, 801. It's a lot of deities, right? Okay, so there's about 801. Of these 801, if Olodumare is here, 200 are on Olodumare's right, 200 are on Olodumare's left. If this is the Earth, if there's 200, 200, where's the, how many, do some subtraction, how many more are left? 401, there's 401 on Earth. Yes, we haven't got to Orisha yet. We'll get to Orisha in a second, yeah, that's right. Now, of these Irumale, these heavenly beings, who are neither, they're not humans. They are not flesh and blood, they have no mother. So I'm gonna write over here, no mom.
No dad.
No dad.
They're not orphans.
They're not orphans, they're not anything. They are spirits created by who? We just shared this. Akamara, yeah, it shows you how old they are. When you say I'm feeding Obatala, you're actually, in a way, tapping into something very, very old. That was around before this planet even existed. Yeah. Okay, they got no, they're not born. They're not born. And they won't die either, because they're spirits. There's 801 of them. And these 401 live on Earth. Now, if one of the 401, if one goes up there, guess what? One from here has to come down there, because the way if I describe it, there always supposed to be 401 guardians and protectors of the Earth. This is our cosmology. This is our, you've seen in all the traditions such as Buddhism, they have these elaborate, we have ours too, so it's important for us to know how our universe is made up. This is just the beginning part of it. I'll share with you now. All right. Who are some of these Irumale? Can you all name a couple of Irumale that you know?
Oshun.
Oshun.
Shango.
Eshu.
Oshun. Eshu. Ogun. Batala. Obaluaye. Osai. Others?
Shango.
Shango, Eshu. Yeah, we can go on and on. Some we know very well. Some we don't know very well. And the reason we don't know some of them very well is because these are Irumale, and some of them became also Orisha. If you do not know the names of all 801, it's because some of them never became Orisha. Orisha is the one we know very closely. Okay. All right. Any questions so far?
Baba, I have a question.
Yes.
You said that they became Orisha, right? Like, which yesterday we talked about is they are recognized by human beings.
Yes.
Being important. Did it all happen around the same time period? Or like,
It would be a lot.
could it happen now? Like, I don't know, I'm just like.
Yes, yeah, so it's the process,
Yeah.
Good question. Here, let me rephrase your question. If we learn about a brand new Irumale that we've never heard of, could we recognize it and turn it into Orisha also? Yes, we could. What do we have, in order to do that, what do we have to do as people?
Honor it.
Honor it, study it, honor it, know it,
Operate.
recognize it. I'll give you a small example. We talked about this in class yesterday. Does everyone know who Olorobudu is? And Olokwikin? These are the Irumale that control the poles of the earth. Are those important jobs, holding the North and South Pole together?
Very essential work.
Yeah, I call it essential, but nobody knows their name. And if nobody knows their name and nobody's honoring them and propitiating them, guess what? They're not Orisha yet. So Orisha are going to be recognized. Some are, we'll get to Orisha in a minute, but let me just say for the Irumale who became Orisha, they have to be recognized. Now some Irumale, we've forgotten their names. In fact, no one even to this day knows all 801. Some of them never actually, they stayed right up here, they never came down. Humans have never seen some of the Irumale. Because remember, Oludumare has 200 on the right and left side, so if 2 go up, 2 more come down. But there might be some sitting right there who never come down. That was Oludumare's celestial court that had been created by Akamara. I know everybody says, Baba, I don't know about that, man. That's like, that's starting to sound like angels and harps and all that stuff. Just accept it now, and as you begin to interact with some of these forces, you're gonna, the Ifa is funny, the way the knowledge hits you, it's like, oh yeah, I can see. You're going to see how it plays out. I ask you just ask questions, but also try to accept it for a second and let it absorb, because it does now sound like, you know, how is this different than me saying, oh no, there's actually 800, no, there's 799. There's a reason for it. We'll be going into those two with due time.
Question, Baba?
Yes, question.
Some Orisha are not Irumale.
Very good. In fact, all Orisha who are flesh and blood are not Irumale. Because Irumale are not whats?
They don't have
Not
one.
born.
They're not human beings. So there are some Orisha. In fact, let's just go to Orisha right now, okay? Some Orisha are Irumale, and some Orisha are flesh, blood humans. But I want to expand it out a little more. There's other kinds of Orisha too. There's about 7 categories of Orishas. I'm going to erase this. How are we doing on time?
It's 12 o'clock.
Yee! 12:05?
You've been going 28 minutes.
Yo! I'm not half done.
No.
Alright. Stop asking me so many questions.
Nope, no more questions.
I'm kidding. It's all right. We'll get what we get, okay? We have to have part 2. All right. Oh, now go to Orisha. This is the word everyone uses. Orisha. And inside of Orisha, you should all recognize a very important word.
Ori.
Okay? And what does Ori mean?
Head.
So we know that part. We're like, oh, that's Ori. That's head. That's in her. Really, Orisha comes from the phrase Eni Ori Shada. Eni Arere. What does Eni mean? Eni.
Olive.
No.
Lightning.
Being.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Let me keep
Being.
going.
Ori. What does Ori mean?
Head.
Very good. Sha.
Selected.
Yeah, you guys were in the class yesterday, yes. So we're gonna, well, let's just say, Eni Ori Shada. That should be right. So what it's speaking of is the one whose head is specially selected. Sha means to select. And Da means like an endowment or an extra. The one whose head is specially selected and endowed. So I'm going to put that translation. We compress it to this. This turns into that. The one whose head is, specially selected and endowed. Okay. So when you say Orisha, you're not saying a small thing. And I don't want you to get the impression that Orishas are somehow lower than or different than, because there's many types of Orisha. The first category of Orisha we've already talked about is what kind of Orishas? Now any Orisha we talk about, we must know something about it. That's why we're talking about it. It's already been selected. They are selected because of accomplishments, of good character and success, of brilliance, of healing. Okay? So for example, let's talk about Osain. Why, Osain is the herbal deity. Why do we recognize Osain? What is his accomplishment?
You said healing.
Healing and
Knowledge.
herbs, yes, roots, all the natural substances, that's Osain. When we talk about, we recognize his brilliance, his selected destiny to be that thing. And so we try to acknowledge that. How about Oshun? When we praise Oshun and feed her and sing and dance on, what selected part of her are we emphasizing?
Motherhood. Family.
Childbearing, motherhood, fertility, yes.
Understanding.
Understanding, yes, all those things. Yeah, leadership, she's got all those going on.
Protecting people in need.
Protecting people in need, yes. You see, those are all attributes. So that's how she, as an Irumale, she performed so well when she lived among people that we raised her to Orisha. Now, if an Irumale did not, remember, Irumale are not perfect, y'all. Some Irumale did not perform super, super well. Some were forgotten and some never came to the earth. Maybe they will in the future, though. That was the question. Could it happen? Yes. Time has not stopped since it's 2024. Time is still going on. So the first category we've talked about are the Irumale. So I'm going to do it over here. So the Irumale are Orisha, meaning recognized Irumale, praised and honored Irumale. The next category of Orisha are humans who became almost deified. Yemoja. Did you know Yemoja, or Yemaya of the diaspora, and traditionally she would call Yemoja? She was a flesh and blood woman. She had a mother and a father. She had a job. She had crises like all the rest of us.
Pay rent.
She bills, pay rent, yeah. She had many issues. She had husbands, all those things. Oya, Osu. You've seen the staff of the Awo. Osu. These were flesh and blood people who did things and became recognized because of their selected and endowed heads. Okay? But the difference is they were born to a mother and father and died on earth. Were they born to mother and father?
No.
Nope, they sure weren't. So when they died, they became honored and respected. You know, they had a grave site, etc., etc., etc. These ones, when they quote-unquote died, it's not really dying. In fact, if I describe them as simply just when their job was finished, they disappear back into the ground or just vanish. Because they were never born, they can't die. That's humans. So, we talk about Yemoja, yes, yeah.
Jakuta?
Jakuta,
Is that a Orisha or Irumale?
Irumale.
Okay.
Irumale, yeah. Heavenly stone thrower. Yes.
Now, Baba, I have a question about Yemoja.
Yemoja.
In a lot of the stories, it says that she's a child of Olokun. Is Olokun like a deity, or is it just a body or a spirit?
Okay. Well, let's do it this way because I'm gonna let me answer that because I'm about to go through the different categories here,
Okay.
and I'm trying to keep us. How are we doing the time here? I want to get full.
30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes left. Okay.
Okay.
Let me get to you in 1 second because I'm going to talk next about animals.
Okay.
Did you all know that some animals are Orisha? Yeah, not even spirit animals, a straight up animal. Like your father describes Kiniun, the lion,
Okay.
as an Orisha. The lion is accomplished for what it does. It's universally recognized. You see, the Yoruba mindset was and is that some things are awe-inspiring and powerful and will always perform certain ways. There's some stuff lions are always going to do. And that's what they do very well. So what you'll begin to notice is that the category of Orisha is very big because it's also going to go into plants and landscape and monuments. And pretty soon you're going to say, well, man, everything's an Orisha. Yes, anything in that direction, and many things are. Many things that have performed well at what they do are Orisha. Now in the Western educated West, we're going in the direction. We believe there's pretty much God, and some of us might also say, and then there's his son, right? Jesus, that's kind of the way our direction is moving in the West. But some people don't even believe in Jesus or God. Some people think AI is the new Orisha. They might believe these things, or some people say, my spirituality is what I think and what I do and how I feel with people. People say that all the time. My spirituality is to treat people well. Okay, that's very good. But Ifa says there's actually a lot of sacred things out here beyond what you see and know and think about. A lot. So we want to acknowledge that varied, complex world. So animals. So who are some of the animals? So Ifa talked about the lion. The elephant. These are revered animals. They have spiritual potency. How about for Otura Tukaa? What's the animal for Otura Tukaa?
Ostrich.
Ostrich. Ogongo, the ostrich.
Vulture.
Is the snake one angel?
The snake is, yes. Certain snakes.
Vulture.
I don't know if he spoke of the whale. Gunugun, the vulture, was in the story today. Gunugun, the vulture. Remember, we will together develop the market.
The ants.
I don't know if ants are, but they might be. They might be. I would, it does include some insects.
Snails?
Rats,
Uh,
Fish.
Tortoise.
Yeah.
Ajapwa? Yes, Ajapwa.
Fly, yeah. The fly, what about the fly?
You
Did
see
they,
that?
yes.
Cause I
He
remember
made, did they ever,
I
did they die?
know, I know this Ethiopia, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. It goes on top of the,
that thing is on top of the fire.
yes.
Crocodile?
Oni, the crocodile,
Oh,
is
yeah, yeah.
sacred. Yes, Oni is sacred to Oshun, actually.
Peacock?
Oh, yeah.
What about the peacock?
Okim, Okini, the glorious peacock, the peacock is another, so these are seen as spiritual animals that they have, we worship them, we use their body parts for certain things, we use another Orisha, the gray parrot.
The parrot.
Where do we use the gray parrot feather?
It's a
African.
Initiation for Orisha, and everyone will have that. These are Orishas. Okay, so if it's an Orisha, you gotta start treating it differently. So you're not gonna necessarily just kill it for fun, and you're sure as heck not gonna destroy its habitats for fun, to build condos. It wouldn't, because this is like, wait a minute. So you see, as we begin to realize what Orisha are and these deities, it kind of changes your respect for the world, yeah.
The panda?
I don't know.
The panda.
I don't know, panda, yeah, I don't know polar bear. But I don't know, I only know the father, and I'm like,
Okay.
I have a question about that. So how, is there a way to know that something is an Orisha? Like, does there need to be an Odu that
there will be a
speaks
stanza
of
that
it?
discusses it, yes.
Okay.
Now, it will be discussed in that stanza, and there's many, many stanzas, so you'll begin to see that.
So it's not simply like people, like human beings recognizing it, cause like, it needs to have something.
You're asking a great question, and I want it in the respect of time,
I
I
know,
wanted to
sorry
say, no, and what your question really, what you're getting to now is, how do we make new Ifa stanzas?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's another class. So I'm gonna hold your question and put it like, pin it to the wall here,
Yeah,
and as you say in your classes, we'll get to that later.
yeah.
It's recess time now. Yes, she's a teacher, that's what I'm saying. Yes, ma'am.
The rat and the fish?
Torofini, certain rats are, yes.
Okay.
Certain rats are. Torofini is the elected leader of all the rats, yes.
So in Lukumi, they talk about the leopard a lot.
And Kunda leopard.
Yes.
Okay,
And
yeah.
Kunda leopard is one of the sacred to Oromina. The leopard is very important.
Oh,
And you know, so many of these awe-inspiring animals, the one that performed very well, like that's an Orisha. Now, some people say, well, it's because in the old times they were primitive and stupid. They were just afraid, they didn't know how to kill it fast enough, so they made it into Orisha. Yeah, but now we're realizing we're trying to do everything we can to save these.
oh,
We're even
yeah,
taking them now and raising them in places to then release them back to the, so we can't lose these animals.
Yeah.
So now we're realizing what people knew before, yes?
The antelope.
Also, the,
Antelope,
Yeah.
so the bee,
Bee.
Ocean's bee, yeah.
The bee?
The bee.
Good question, I don't know.
You would think, I mean, we need it to be.
There you go, yes. See, so, okay, so this gets back to his question. How do things become Orishas? It's based on recognition and worship.
Yeah.
And we know that we need bees as pollinators.
Right.
Now, let's go back up right here real quick.
Okay.
For example, Yemoja became a Orisha. Oya, Osu, these all became Orishas. Humans can create other Orishas in their communities. They don't all have to be black, they don't have to be African. They can have Orishas in China. It's their local heroes.
Right.
India, Mexico. It's well, the one whose head was specially selected. So I'm sure every country has humans who are brilliant and specially selected and did something.
Right.
Maybe it's Simon Bolivar in South America, or it's in Mexico, Mother Teresa in India, yeah. I don't Pancho Villa. I don't know whoever the country will have it. You'll know who, Martin Luther King. It may be Jimmy Carter. Your country will pick your heroes. And this is another class also. There's a process how to make something in Orisha. Maybe Malcolm X. Maybe I don't know. It's up to the communities.
Someone asked online, can common animals and pets be Orisha, like dogs or cats?
My question is for your common animal. What is it doing that's specially selected and endowed?
Okay.
And it would have to be something we recognize among the whole species, not just fluffy or pouches. You put your stroller and walk down the street.
I got the
What about animals that are extinct?
Animals that are extinct can still be, yeah. Because remember, some of the humans who are now Orisha, in fact, all of them, they're quote unquote dead, but they live on.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Water buffalo.
Water buffalo, Efon, yes.
Also,
Yeah.
halifon.
Yes, Efon is. Yeah, you guys get the idea here. All right, I next want to go to another category, plants. Okay, so there are certain plants that are Orisha, meaning they did certain things that were specially selected and endowed that people gave notoriety.
The Iroko tree?
Tete.
Iroko, Tete,
Sunflower.
Obi. Yes.
I'm not sure. A rowboat.
Orobo, these are, yes, and there's stanzas that talk about them over and over. So we definitely want to be aware of this. Plants, so I feel like you guys get the idea there. I'll just give you a couple. We all know sugarcane.
Oh, yeah.
How can sugarcane be an Orisha? Well, everybody eats sugarcane every day. I think it darn well is like an Orisha. Everybody's consuming everything we eat.
Cotton, we worship it.
Cotton, yes.
Banana.
Banana, that's right. So sugarcane was described in Obunda Meji.
Yeah, cotton's an Iwari both.
That's right. And Iwari Meji.
And we're meant
The cotton wool farmer looked across the road and smiled. So the cotton wool plant looked across the river, sorry, and smiled invitingly at the farmer. This was Casti 5. Does everyone know this stanza? Or? Some Iwari Meji, yeah. So cotton is, I don't know if indigo is an excellent question. These are good questions. Yes, it can be if it's being mentioned is one thing, but it's if it's specially performed, it became so popular, people are like, we need that. And without that, we can't, there's no substitute.
Okay.
Corn, yes.
Yeah.
Bitter leaf?
Yes, in water, these are all, you guys are naming, these are all essentially Orishas. So essentially, the whole natural world becomes very sacred.
Like minerals or oyin, like honey, but it's not a plant.
Substances are also,
Do they need to have like healing properties?
either healing or leadership.
They have to be known for
Be
something.
known for something or to perform an essential function. Now, of course, today we can make everything in the lab.
Yeah.
But if I didn't develop the lab, if I developed, we're like, hey, honey, there's no substitute, honey is honey. Okay, the lion is the lion. And funnily enough, the things we built after these original Orisha, certain birds are like Orisha. And eventually they built something called the airplane. Airplane's modeled on a bird, you all know that, right? It's got a head, 2 wings, and a tail. All ships are modeled after a what?
Well,
Fish. Yeah. All 4-wheel vehicles are modeled after what?
lions, horses.
Animals with 4 legs.
4 legs.
See, it's nothing new. It all started with these. That's why even the design of everything came from these essential natural beings, and most of which are Orisha. And so that was the world they lived in, and that's the world that we actually still live there. But now we don't want to. We pretend like we're not in that world, but we still are, because if everything shuts down, we got to go back to this anyway. So let us, as Ifa people, be aware of these things. Okay, so plants. Tete. There's no Tete, yeah. This is from Osakanron. Yeah. Osakanron discusses Tete and Odundun. These are herbs. And how they perform so well. In fact, they called Odundun the leader of all the plants. And Tete is the first lieutenant. So these are all...
Iroko.
Iroko, yes. Araba.
Are you finna erase or yet?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can I just take a picture? Sorry.
Please do so. We got more wishes.
What about water? And
Yeah, minerals.
We'll get there, hang on. Come. I want to go to number 5. Okay, so the question's very good you just asked. I want to talk about natural elements, such as rivers and items in nature. So certain rivers are considered Orishas. And of course the water in that river is holy. Every water in every river did not perform the same as some waters and some rivers. Some waters and some, for example, for the Indians, what's their sacred river? The Ganges. The Ganges, you see, and their other rivers have their characteristics. In Ifa, we also have rivers. If you've been to Ijumu, Oshogbo, or Oshun's home, right? Where the water begins to flow, that's considered a sacred river, and the water has healing properties.
Igiti.
River Nile,
What is it?
Igiti. Ikiti. It's in
Ikiti, yes.
Yeah, Igiti.
River Nile.
River Nile, yes. Every country will have its own ones. I only know best the ones that Ifa talks about.
Mississippi.
Mississippi. Mark Twain, huh? Certain mountains.
Got us through.
Certain mountains are sacred sites. Okay? So we're talking mostly about Okiolota. These are places in West Africa. Olumo Rock. These are giant mountains, hills, and even some small hills that are all sacred. They are Orisha. That's why you see people feeding the river. Y'all see the ceremony they feed the river. It's because the river is an Orisha. In fact, you can feed Oshun directly in a river. Oyakani fed in the river. Yamajak, all the water spirits can be fed in the river.
Okay.
I haven't forgotten about the elopement thing. I'm gonna get back to that because I want to get this time. All right, now certain items also, such as stones, etc. Yeah, minerals,
Salt. Salt.
it can be, if it's defined out, what Ifa said is what stanza is it from? And if we know the stanza, then we'll be able to know.
Okay.
Maybe some others are in the process of being formed, being recognized and worshipped. And if they are, hey, let's look at it that way. I want to now go to what we call the inanimate. Inanimate objects. So these would be Ifa tools, statues, pillars. Did you know, for example, the pillar in front of your house that holds your porch up is an Orisha? Opo, opio, opo. That's why we feed the pillar in front of our house. The door. Ilekum. The road, ona. Have you ever seen somebody pouring palma on the ground
Come on, something.
before initiation?
Anvil, Anvil?
And we,
Yeah,
yes, these are accomplished items that perform a function and are now being used and are irreplaceable.
Oko.
The ori of a house,
The hoe,
Oko.
good question, I'm not sure. I'm only telling the ones I know. I know Iwiri is.
Okay.
Well, Iwiri is the, I'm forgetting the
Blacksmith's hand.
the blower. I'm forgetting the name, yeah, that's Iwiri is.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that the anvil is too. There's so many items. Okay, now, so there's certain statues, certain carvings, certain moldings, certain things. But as Baba said, the door is also an Orisha.
So these are human made,
Yes.
More,
But they
that
also,
have performed a special function.
how about the mortar?
No, very
I
no.
don't know, but it could be though, could be.
Yeah.
Odo.
Odo.
Yeah, Odo, Odio, that could be an Orisha. I next want to go to, okay, these are all Orishas, so now let's go to number 7 here, which is kind of the spiritism world. How are we doing on time here?
15 minutes.
Spiritism. So this would be where we talk about Ajay. Ajay. That's the Iyami, the mothers of the night, Ajay. That's under spirit. They're like Orisha now. Were they flesh and blood humans?
No.
No.
But they are Orisha, meaning they have specially endowed talents. And we better be conscious of those. So, you know, some people call them the witches. I don't like to use that as much because it's not as helpful. It's just, you start to think of Halloween and evil and
Negative things.
black cats and stuff like that. That's may be true in another country, but it doesn't help our understanding of Ifa, so I choose to not use that exactly, but Ajay is the feminine energy, which is very, very popular, very powerful, very old.
Primordial.
Primordial, yes, yes. In fact, the Ajay had the first ownership of the earth. We'll talk about that just briefly here. Another one would be Egbe. Egbe are your spiritual mates.
Did you say Yami?
Oh,
Yes?
she's asking about Iyami.
Did you say Yami in this
That's
category?
is Ajay the same?
Yeah.
Yes, Yami.
Oh,
Ajay. Yami, what does say? Another word here. Ajay, Yami, Agbaladba, Yami Sharonga. There's
This is
some,
different from wealth, Baba?
yes.
Yes.
Ajay.
It's the accent.
It has a
Ajay.
different accent.
Okay. And then,
Risha.
what would
Ajay.
Ajay be, is that,
This is wealth.
I know, but
That's-
is that an Irumole or?
Orisha.
Oh, good question. Wealth?
Yeah.
It was a human.
Orisha.
Thanks for
Okay, so it's
reminding me.
Orisha.
That would be a human Orisha. You know, there was a woman named Ajay,
Okay,
and she was simply the wealthiest woman on earth at that time.
Okay, so
That's
that's an
right.
Orisha.
She is an Orisha.
Well, like the old Indian, like the beings before, that they were before humans.
Indian.
Yeah. Will there some of them be Orishas? No.
We're gonna get to them.
Oh,
That's the part that I wanted to really make sure we have time for. So, let me just make sure I'm getting everything we need here. Gosh, we're running low on time. All right, let's go to what Baba's written here, because that's where I want to finish. Okay, so we also have, we have the Ibeji. You know Ibeji means twins, right? The spirituality of twins fits under spiritism. Yoruba culture and Ifa considers twins have a spiritual power to them. And so if you're told traditionally to feed the Ibeji, you will simply get those items and give them to the mother of twins. Okay? That's how you do it.
Okay.
Because who's going to feed those twins? Yeah, that's called feeding the Ibeji. The statues came much, much later. In fact, some people don't even, the statues are just new carvings, as in the last hundreds of years. The real way to feed Ibeji is to give the items you want to feed to the spirit of Ibeji through a mother who has two twins. And she will feed those Ibeji. So when the actual twin eats, you fed Ibeji. Which is very interesting because in the diaspora, in the Caribbean, they have parties for the Ibejis, and they have a bunch of food. It's like a kid's party, and they invite somebody with twins, and all the kids just eat. That's the way to feed the Ibeji, actually. That's a traditional way also.
The Ibeji must be identical?
Well, twins don't have to be identical.
Okay, so it can be fraternal too?
Yeah, yes. Just came out popped out the same day.
No, I just don't know.
No, it don't have to be identical at all. Yes, yeah.
Are ancestors on this?
Yes, we haven't even gotten to them yet.
Perfect.
All these 7 are whats?
Orisha.
We're still with Orisha.
Orisha, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Egungun next.
Oh, so there's.
It's different, yeah, we haven't got to Egungun yet. Yeah. That's another category. So when you say Iba Oludumare, Iba Ori, Iba Iya, Iba Ba, Iba Irumale, Iba Orisha, you're really, you didn't know you were saying all this, did you? Sure. Okay, but now let's go to Egungun. And although we can take it 2 ways. I can go deeper into spiritism, or I can go to Egungun. Let me go to Egungun. I feel that's more foundational for us, and we'll come back to spiritism. Okay, so another category is Egungun. Now, funnily enough, Egungun represents what? Our ancestors. Funnily enough, Egungun is in Iromale. It is. Egungun's in Iromale. There was an Iromale called Egungun. But this Iromale Egungun took on the job or the function of representing people's ancestors. So its job title kind of changed. You know, when Iromale got to the earth, they took up the professions that they needed to do here. So, you can see that as human society developed, some Iromale took on certain jobs. And Egungun took on the job of representing the ancestors. Egungun inherently is not tied to ancestor. Egungun became associated with, over the millennia and millions of years, ancestor. There's two kind of ancestors.
Yeah.
There's Egungun, Egungun Baba. Please make sure you know which one you're feeding. You can't just put everything out there and feed your Egungun. Which one is your
The
feeding?
women, and
Sorry?
so that's for the women, like the mothers and the fathers?
Maternal.
Your mom's people, your dad's
Yeah,
people.
yeah, okay.
And we all know, and we shared this in a class I was in yesterday, these are different sets of people, hopefully, right?
Right.
Unless you're a product of incest,
Oh, boy.
I don't know. Could be, but Ifa and most cultures totally prohibit incest. This would be different lineages. And so you might want to feed the oldies to them or them. You'll need to know from Ifa what lineage you want to feed. But don't just feed your ancestors because they won't know who is this for. And they're not going to share it. Because your mom's people, dad's people is not the same people. They all can't come and share it. They're in different places. Oh, okay, so that's a Egungun. Now I'd like to return a little bit to Spiritism. I don't want to say too much in Egungun. That's going to be a separate whole class, actually. But in your prayers, Egungun would come after Orisha. Okay. So let's go back to the topic of spiritism briefly. And we're going to go to the Enian and those groups. These are not necessarily spirits you are going to be paying homage to, but they still exist in our rich and varied world. That's why I call this sermon Our Rich and Varied World. Meaning these are out there, and they're in places, they're very common, we need to know about them. So the Enian, these are different than the Enian means those who were cast out. Those who were cast out. These are primordial beings who populated the earth first. Yes.
The Hobbit,
Well, yes, but we'll get to those in a minute. We're going to be covering those smaller spirits in a hot second. Just think of it this way: the Enian was the grouping for all those, but some of those have names like Eween, etc. These were cast out because of misuse of their technology. They made the world a bad place to live, pre-human. We are not the first people to occupy this earth. We're not the first people to spoil the environment. We're not. It already happened. And the Enian were cast out for that reason. Right? And it's called the Great Flood. There are actually two of them. There were two giant floods. And most Enian were cast out. That's described in Osagunda and Ogunda Mejoso. Osagunda and Ogunda Meji. You know,
They were created by Olodumare.
yes, yes. Olodumare created many things and gave many things the chance to perform. And everything basically has the possibility to become an Orisha. Everything in existence, if it performs well enough. And so part of performing well is your own. For example, you guys could become Orishas. You know, there's a phrase in Yoruba that says human beings do become Orisha. They do. Anyone here can become an Orisha. There's no one here who can't.
I was just thinking about Oprah earlier, the way people tend to hold her up.
And hold her up, yeah. They seem like they want to do that. And anyone can become an Orisha. It's our choice, it's our behavior, and how well did we perform in our task. Believe me, if you're important and well remembered, they will go to your birthplace after you die. And they'll leave flowers there, and they'll turn into a museum. They won't tear it down, and then people will start to see miracles. It's an Orisha. All you need to do now is make a holiday. It's in West Africa we have the same thing. It's called your annual festival. Oshun has a festival. It's the same process. So these are those who are cast out. Okay.
And in science, they talk about that, like the Homo sapiens. There's in that taxonomy. There's the Homo erectus, Homo.
Yeah,
It's a lot of humans.
Yes.
Our cousins or uncles.
Yeah.
Talks about how they died out.
Yes, all species did not exist, and so it can happen to us too based on situations where we put ourselves on. So people say, well, how did they get cast out? Well, they were using negative spiritual energies. The Indian were using their occult powers for wickedness. And at a certain point, they were forced out. Enneon is actually, I'm going to put that in parentheses because we're actually not there yet, but this just means regular human. That's you and I right now.
Yeah.
We're up in Enneon.
Well, can you say the two?
Enneon, Enneon.
It's low and high, high and low.
Neon?
High, high, low, low.
Low.
Yoruba has many accents. It's hard. All right.
Very difficult.
So I put that in parentheses because human beings are going to be a little bit lower in our hierarchy, but at least you can see how, I don't want you to confuse these two words because they mean completely different things. These are non-humans, these are humans. During the flood, all Ennean did not die. Many were able to float. They weren't flooded. Many went inside of trees. They survived. Some went on mountaintops, some went underground, or changed their shape in other ways as to survive. Most were fled. They were physical beings. I don't want you to feel Ennean was like spirits. They were beings. But a spiritual and a physical, and when the spirituality, the physicality hit, most of them were killed. I also don't want to give the impression that all Ennean are bad. Chief Popola said that some percentage, he estimates, he says 5% or less are very good. And they still come and teach people things. Okay? You might be in the forest and you interact with a spirit who teaches you something about a plant. You're seeing this. Now we know in the Western, like in American society, they say, well, you're crazy if you see anything in the forest talking to you. But many people have seen and heard and felt those kind of things because Ifas is in our world, our complex world, these things are all there. You see, Ifa just gives you a way to discuss what's already there. Some people just walk in the forest and they're doing this. Well, because they're feeling certain things, they have no name for it though. Ifa gives you the name so you can know how to deal with it. That's the only difference, yes.
Does Ifa speak of what you're, like the list that you're giving, any planets or things like that count in our solar system?
That are what, Orisha?
Something like that, like the rocks.
In a sense, yes, because Oshukwa is the moon, Oshukwa, and then Orun, the sun. Yes, they're specially accomplished. Yeah. Oshukwa is in Atefini Retofun. The sun is in Odimeji. And, but it didn't perform so, you see, you can see how if it didn't perform well in a certain stance, it'd be like, is that what it became Risha? In Odimeji it did. Ajigunwa. It just lit up the whole world. So we need to know what Ifa spoke of this. How does this all matter? Well, this is ways to enhance your personal spirituality. These deities are also something that you can emulate to live like. Okay, I want to now go to Ebora. Ebora is still in the category of spiritism. Okay, Ebora. Let me see, how can we describe it best? What are we, time, Ia? How are we doing for time?
You got about 10 minutes.
Okay, okay, thanks. All right. So Ebora is basically spirit or energy, but it is a sentient being that also performed well. So you might notice with all these beings, they all did things that we're still talking about today. That's why Ifa said, make yourself relevant so that people will talk about you later. Don't be irrelevant. Don't be irrelevant. Don't be passive. Now, your irrelevance may be you may be president of the United States, or you may be the leader of your own home. You may have turned your own life around, but whatever it is, you want to be relevant in some way to something to make the world a better place. So Ebora, this is a word to describe spirit energy. So what's an Ebora? Oromila's Ebora. Okay. Ebora itself was a raw energy, but when Oromila saw how Ebora performed, he began calling himself Ebora. He borrowed it. We're going to get to the local thing in a minute here. okay? When other deities, they saw how powerful Ebora was, it's a primordial spirit. They begin to say, I'm Ebora too. So the Orishas and the deities sometimes borrow each other's titles. And they borrow each other's titles because there's no selfishness amongst them. Like if I see that, is it, yeah, tell me from San Diego, what's your name?
Adelola.
Adelola. Okay, so if I see Ia Adelola's performance and her behavior, and it's really, really impressive, I'll start saying little things that make people think I'm associated with her somehow. And, yeah, I know her, yeah, she comes here, yeah, we're great buddies. You see, I want to be closer because I see your greatness. Whatever somebody's greatness is, the Orisha are not selfish like the Ebora, who are separate spirits, they would never say a woman, step back, this is my title. They're not possessive like that. I'm going to give you another small example. One of the words of Oromila is called Ifa Olokun. Have y'all heard that?
Yeah.
Yes. Asorodai, Ifa Olokun, Asorodai. When Oromila saw how well Olokun performed, he began calling himself. You see, they take each other's titles. They're not selfish that way. So that shows us that we can also share each other's greatness and, our shine. If you've got a certain amount of shine or whatever, you can lend it out. You can share it. You can rent it out. I want to talk about, let me see, I think we'll go next to do the deeds. Some of these deities are not super well performed. Okay, I want next to go to Egberi. They don't perform super well. These, in fact, are seen more as negative or irritants, but they still exist. So we'll talk about them. Egberi is a spirit, again from the Ennean category, primordial. They did survive. They cause trouble for people, and they cry and they nag you all the time. And in fact, this was discussed in Ogbe Sa. They described one of Oromila's wives like Egberi, because she would cry and get him into trouble. She treated him terribly in the house. And then when people showed up, she starts crying and they felt sorry for her. And then they left and she began abusing her husband again. And then when they came back, she'd cry again. You see, so she was, we've all seen people like that, right? That one way, it's Egberi. Okay, now the funny thing about Egberi is that Ifa even described how they look. It said it's Egberi, they're very short spirits. So this gets to what you said about the gnomes and those primordial spirits. Some of them were very, very small. All the old Indian had different sizes. Some of them were very tiny. We also have Iwi. These would be the forest dwellers. Okay? Iwi, these are forest spirits. We have Oro Inu Igi. These are specifically Ennean, these older spirits, who went and lived inside of the tree. Because, look, Inu means inside of Igi means tree. Oro. Oro means something that's successful. For example, you guys know when we say, let's do the Oro now. There's an aroma called Oro. It's ancestral. It's very powerful. Well, guess what? It was so powerful at what it did that other deities started taking the word Oro and using it for themselves. You see, the Orishas borrow titles from each other all the time. And Oro Inu Igi is a powerful spirit that lives inside of a tree. Have you ever been in the forest and you'd be all alone and you just feel like there's somebody there? And it'd be totally quiet. You're looking around and you feel like somebody's watching you. That's Oro Inu Igi. These are spirits who live inside of trees. Inu inside Igi tree. And most people who are like normal people, do not sit and meditate peacefully in the forest. It's not as comfortable because the energy is strong for the main reason that for Oro Inu Igi, Egberi, Imin, all these, guess what? They were part of this group. And what happened to this group, you guys? Yeah, so are they happy now about humans?
No.
No, because we later came and took this planet. Yeah. So there is some degree of competition. Now sometimes these spirits begin to do things and we see like, yes, yeah.
did we take the plan or was it given to us?
Oh, we took it over. Did English settlers take Massachusetts or was it given to them? It's complicated, right? So at any rate, whoever got dispossessed doesn't care if it was a legal contract or what. They just know, we used to have this, now you have it. We don't like that. Yeah, so it's kind of that kind of thing. So these spirits here will sometimes be making life rough on humans. Okay, and I want to emphasize that. Mischievous, yes. Capricious.
Rascals.
Rascally.
There you go.
But also, that feeling of some people, they move into a new house, and they said something was sitting on my chest last night, I couldn't breathe. Something strangled me in my sleep,
That's
and
not.
I woke up.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's, Ifa's talking about these types of spirits, so in many cases, the person's not crazy. It's an actual spirit who owns that area where the house is. And they live in the land and they don't want new people coming there. So in the West, what do we call that? That's a ghost. Run. But he finds no way of ways of handling these. We have ways of feeding them and placating them. And we have ways of knowing in the first place if they're even there. So before you might have remembered, we did Ifa divination with dirt for a spot, and I did it for here as well. Before you buy a building or a home, you want to cast Ifa on that place with the dirt from that house. Use that as your assumption. And that'll be telling you if that space, it may look beautiful. What if there's 201 berry up under the house? And Oro Inuit gets out of every tree surrounding you. I love that tree. It can happen. So we want to be aware of this natural world. It's very complex. We have ways of treating all these spirits, but we need to first know who they are. Let me see what else can I take our time to do. Where is this? Everybody scared now? Ready? Feel scared?
Ready to do it, Ebo?
Yeah, get out of here.
Get this energy.
Maybe I'll teach
Some incense.
Teach it at night sometimes.
Some incense going in here.
Have the lights drop off.
On Halloween teaching.
There.
Oh,
So, Baba, just real quick.
Yes.
So you know how they said that the spirits could communicate through electricity?
Yes.
And so can these, what do you call them? Iruni,
And neon, the moral, these, yes, they can.
can they, oh,
They certainly
so is
can.
that why they lights? 'Cause they,
They can, yes. They certainly can. They can
Baba,
show.
you're out of time too.
Oh, what's that?
You're out of time. Time.
Let me do one more.
Okay.
Or you want me to stop?
You can.
Come on. I didn't know this. No. Okay, so Akudaya. Now, I want to talk about Akudaya. Akudaya is very interesting because Akudaya is perhaps the most... Akudaya are spirits that are in this Enya category. What are they? It is a person who refused. They died, but they rejected their own death. They said, I'm coming back down here.
People with unfinished business.
Just attachment to the earth. So they refuse. They're neither here nor there. Because we went to their funeral. We've seen them. They've been buried. They died. We saw them hit by the car. We saw them die of cancer, whatever it might have been. They're dead in our mind. But they don't believe they're dead. Yeah. So I call them the unwilling dead. This is my little phrase.
Zombies.
No, they're actually not zombies. No, not at all. What Ifa described it as, they actually go and reclaim their physical body. Now, there's one problem with reclaiming your physical body.
If it's buried.
And if you die and we bury you, and then we see you walking on the next day, how are we going to react? Scared. And they don't want to be rejected. They just want to keep living on the earth. So Akudaya tend to reclaim their physical body and go live in another place where people didn't know them. What? Told you I'm going to class at night next time. Akudaya. Okay, so let me get back up. Person dies. Person, normally when you pass away, have you all heard the stories of how they say, I went above my body? And I saw the light and all that. And then at a certain point, somebody told me, it's time for you to go back.
Right.
And that's how we know the story, because that person was almost there. They were out of their body for a minute. They came back and they said, but you know what, it wasn't my time yet. So that person's clearly, I'm back in the world.
Okay.
Okay, and it wasn't their time. Akudaya is different. It was their time. They were supposed to keep going. They fought and they fought and they fought and they came back. So they're not there and they're not here. They're supposed to be there, but it's like they don't belong.
Right.
And so what happens is they come back down, they claim their body, because these things are all possible. They claim their body, but they can't live where we are, because they put life back in, but the body still is good.
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
So do we do a bow to basically elevate that spirit so they can move on? Or, yeah.
There is a book, yes. So here's the funny thing about it. So then they want to go and live somewhere else, because they still have a zest for life, but they know they cannot live in their own community. In fact, one of the small taboos of Akudaya is if anyone sees them who knew them from before, guess what?
They're gonna come hunt you.
That's it.
Oh.
No, it's not a haunting thing.
They're gonna just.
That's why they make sure to move outside of their area to another area.
We don't.
They can't be recognized.
What if you're on vacation
That's your fault.
What if your vacation was?
and you see that person? That's it for
You're
you?
not gonna.
They'll make sure they don't see you.
Exactly.
Akudaya knew Kariyama from LA. Akudaya, if he sees Kariyama, he's gonna.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now, here's another interesting thing about Akudaya. Akudaya has no shadow. You'll know it.
These are real people. There's
Huh?
no shadow.
They're people with no shadows, because they're not really people, are they?
No, yeah.
They're not alive and they're not dead. Yeah. So, Akudaya will be living, they can even start a family in another community.
That is scary.
The key is, they can't go back to where they're from, because people will know who they were. So very often, you'll hear people say, a man is Akudaya, he moves to another town, another city, has a family. His wife says, let's go meet your people. He's not telling his wife he's Akudaya. He's Bill, or Stephen, or Esteban, wherever he is. He is afraid to go back to his hometown. She's like, no, baby, let's go, let's go, let's go. I want to meet your mother. I don't know my mother-in-law. And at that point, when the pressure becomes too much, the Akudaya says, okay, we'll go. And as they're getting back to the place, the boundary at the airport, wherever it is, the Akudaya will say, well, baby, go on over there. And that's my house over there. And then the wife will go in, and the wife will say, I'm here my husband's coming. Here's our kid, they have kids. Akudaya can have children. And I want to show you your grandchildren. Your son, Stephen, my husband, he's coming right now. And what will the mother say? He died 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And at that
Oh
point,
my God, I believe I've heard stories of this.
There's a lot of stories like so.
Ifa just gives a way of describing it already happens all over the world. You see, that's the beauty.
That will be a great movie.
No,
It'll be a great reality. It's a movie reality. So you see how this is. So I don't mean to scare you guys, but
But the shadow, is the physical shadow or EKG, like the shadow?
there's no shadow.
there's no shadow. It doesn't have a
No,
shadow.
it doesn't project the shadow.
There's no shadow. Like if you're standing here and you're shining a light, there's nothing. But that's how you know it's that.
So that's what, like the story of vampires. That's what it sounds like.
I don't know it very well, but
You don't know about vampires?
I don't really know. I didn't focus on the music honestly, but I believe you. I get you. Yeah.
Baba, I know it's just a legend, urban legend, but so many people saw Tupac in different countries outside of here when he passed. It was just interesting.
Maybe it can be.
It's interesting.
You see, Frost says, okay, so let's go investigate that. And then we'll really know, like, forensically, was it him? Was it a lookalike? Was it a fantasy? Yeah. JFK, right? All these, we've seen all these people.
Okay, yeah.
Could be not, we don't know. Yes,
And so is this why, like, the 40 days after someone dies, we should pray for we pray for them? So they're like,
yes,
they're in transition.
yes.
Is it
To go
during?
back to, or?
Even during, yes.
Okay, both.
During that. You want to pray for their elevation. You want to do with certain bows we do to make sure they go where they're going and we're left in peace. Because they can come back. Yeah, there's a special ebo we do called Adawole. It means to return back to the home.
That's why you say if they're lingering, if there's after the fact, you have some stuff to do.
Watched.
Now, there's even another category of akudaya, which are half or partially formed. So some people who died in accidents, or they're missing legs or a head.
Oh.
So when they go back to reclaim their body, what body are they reclaiming? They're reclaiming whatever they had when they died.
Okay.
So some akudaya will be walking around with missing body parts.
Okay, so you know how they do medical procedures, like say for instance, they use the bone from someone that is dead. That does not sound good.
Like if you're an organ.
Yeah, organ donor or bone, or they use cadaver bones for certain things. They use.
Sometimes akudaya will have to come back and they just want to be on Earth and they can't get to their body. Guess what they
They're
do?
gonna inhabit your body.
There's certain that reveal your behaviors
This is crazy.
is not you.
Yeah.
It's not you doing certain crazy things. So the question when somebody's misbehaving, why are they misbehaving? Is it that they're being bad? That they're possessed? Is it akudaya? Is it bad medicine or curses? There's many. See, that's what I'm saying. That's why I call this class Our Rich and Varied World. We just, until we investigate, we don't quite know what's happening. Is it egg forcing them to do? We just don't know.
Even with hair, right? People use human hair. Oh, good.
Yeah, you shouldn't use wigs with other people's hair in it. It's not the best. It's not the best. You probably sort of said that. Now, yeah. No, you still stop the Indian hair? Brazilian hair?
No, thank you.
Have your hair. All right, now, here's the amazing thing. So some of these half-formed akudaya, they will go and they will be eating roadkill, or the abos that we leave in front of the shrines, all they eating food. So what this just goes to show us that everything we do in our offerings, they're still eaten by other beings, animals and other spiritual beings come and consume them.
Native Americans still talk about beings like this. I know we don't, in our modern urban society, see these things a lot, but people living out in the country, they see a lot of this.
Yes, you'll tend to see more of this in a rural setting because the rural setting nature is where that was their original abode. And whenever we cut a whole forest and put condos there, they're only forced to do two things: move out or go underground. So underground is where a lot of these Indian live right now, because their whole above surface ground has been taken away. But then that increases the resentment. You see how it's like a funny cycle. And so it's kind of a note to humans, like be aware of how you're developing the world.
Oh, yeah.
Your battery is low, Bubba. Battery is low.
Battery you tell me it's time to stop. Okay, we can keep going on. I just wanted to give you guys a kind of an overview of this world. And so, and I also want to give you guys a way to pray to the deities in kind of a structured order. I personally don't include akudaya and varinos in my prayers for obvious reasons. But the upper categories, you want to include those, and try to include them roughly in those orders, because that's the divine cosmological hierarchy. And yeah, I think that's all. Any summing up questions or?
I'm scared of snake.
Scared you don't have upset.
So what about abiku?
I didn't get to it. In fact, it's right here. I don't have time to get to Abikon and Mary. Abikon and Mary, we can keep going. We talk about these are children who agree to live for a very short time and then go back, or agree to live long and die. Yes, that's part of the Nian as well.
Part two.
Part two.
For I'd be cool once, because I know that came up for me, not for me, but for my nephew. Once you do Ebo for that person, are they good?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the path. Abiku is a spirit who's decided to come to earth, and it's spelled like this.
For a little while, for a certain time.
Come and live for a little while. Come and taste the world. Abiku, the one who was born to die. So they may need to come back to the earth and agree to live for 18 years or 6 months or 3 days, 5 minutes. Every child who dies is not an Abiku, but many are. So we would need to know, and Ifa will tell us if it's Abiku. And there are ways to convince the Abiku to stay here, not to go back to his spiritual or her spiritual realm. Yeah, I just didn't have time to start to get to Mary. There's so much here. And there's Ifa stories on all of these. This is Otura Irete that talked about Abiku. You know, Oromila is troubled by 3 Abiku. his children died, he went in there to ask, why are my children dying? And so Aladun Orun said, okay, well, we're going to go over there in the corner, this is heaven, and watch them. And the spirits were not happily back in heaven. And they were explaining. They said, yeah, our dad, he didn't know this about us. But when we were down on earth, we had an agreement. One said, I made sure that when they put me down next to the fire, I rolled into the fire and I got burned. That's how the baby died on earth. The baby was burned to death. Another one, another one showed. See, the babies were describing, funnily, how we outwitted our father roaming on earth. And Aaron was watching all this. So what he did was he did that vow, he went back down to earth, did their vow, and his wife got pregnant. And as the kids were coming down, he made sure, because they were going to use that same way to keep dying. He said, don't you put any babies near the fire. So as they were holding the baby on earth, when it was reborn, second time, baby kept trying to fall into the fire, and kept him away from the fire. You see? Another one, they made sure the baby didn't choke. Each one, they made sure they observed it. So Ifa will tell us that's what taboos are. Taboos for some of us is a way to avoid being complicated. So the world is, it's like, you never know how complicated and interesting the world is, you know? Yes. Okay, thank you all. All right. Yes. So what we'd like to do now, y'all, is we're going to do multitasking. I'd like to do a couple of things. One, we've given Osei to Ifa, and now we're going to be casting Itadogun. So we need one casting award to cast Itadogun. And then also, Baba needs to cast, and then Yuna is over there.
So 3 opponents?
We'll probably need 2 or 3, yeah. Let's get 3 students. Yeah, so people are afraid, nervous to go walk around at night now, huh?
Yeah, you have to end with a prayer.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't think of that.
Why do the spirits come out more at night? Those kinds of spirits?
Well, because humans aren't as much at night. They come out, so their main thing is they're trying to avoid humans, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why they're not in front of you, just bugging you all day, right? And there'll be a few who are like that, but most aren't. Yes?
If there's a spirit in your family that has reappeared, could it be that they're Iami?
The spirit can't be any.
Okay. Or, I mean, not a spirit, a human that passed, a woman that passed.
Sorry.
And she's able to still manifest.
Okay, so she might be, she's a human. So she's a human. She's
So
not,
just a human.
yeah, these are different categories. So she
Okay.
would be a human who's making themselves visible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Now,
humans can do
and
that?
if you're seeing them,
Yeah.
if you're seeing them, they're not akudaya. Remember,
Like
akudaya don't want to be seen by their loved ones.
Yeah, multiple people can, yeah.
Yeah, spirits can make themselves seen.
Yeah,
So it's straight up human. It's human.
Okay.
Human category. All right, y'all. So people can move around if you want or get up. It's not so much, what's up and down, just come on down, everybody wants to go.
Interesting.
No, we already set up everything. So why don't we just have the other one and then just do it, because I know. Let's do it fine. So you can go on the side. We'll put one in here, one in here. Let's do the title and just change it that way.
You know your study's moving back.
That was a lot of information, right?
Let's get on it. Friends after. Oh, friend here? Okay, let's do your friends after.